And here we go with this long letter still. Some places it's boring, but it's a bit interesting of how the Senate's working and Pliny's mind. So, finem existimus. Do you think this is the end? Mane, imperative. Remain, dormat, another imperative, and receive may or more. So this dorm is while you're waiting, you can receive more words. Utique, which means at least or absolutely. Sometimes there's a few meanings. Cum sit utile. So what might be useful? Utile est usually takes an infinitive. This benigtatem, so this kindness of the principle of the emperor, promptissimum, which is most ready or most prompt, most ready at hand. It's a superlative. So this kindness of the emperor is much at hand. To the laudem, which is the praise, and the premia and the rewards, merentium of those of what is merited. And here's the infinitive. So ubique, everywhere. It's useful for this kindness to be illustrated, right? To be illustrated or demonstrated. And maxime means especially in is locus, in these places. Quibus, in which. In citare, that can be incited. Looks like possens here, taking the infinitive. In which they are able to incite to the imitation of these cares of praepositarem. This is like proposed or the purpose thing. So if someone imitates these duties which have been proposed in matters, it's good if you can put them especially in a place where people will be incited to imitate this behaviour. And the spectissima fide, so this fides spectissima, another superlative. So it looks like the fides and innocentia of Palais, very readily seen. Exemplo provocare, okay, he's paused that again. By this example, you're able to provoke studium, which is zeal and enthusiasm, so honeste emulation. So emulation means you provoke people to have a rivalry of such an honest actions. Eaque, these things which on the excal Februarius, this is 10 days before the calendar of February. The calends is the first day, so 10 days before February. Que proxima fuessent, things most recently which had been in this amplissimo ordine, in this amplissimo, it's like the order of the Senate. I wouldn't say it's full, it's very honoured, you might want to say. The Optimus Princeps, this is this great leader, our great emperor, has recited these things 10 days before February in this great order, and the Senate consulta, by a consultal decree of the Senate, de is rebus facta, these things which have been done should be incideretur, this means cut into or inscribed in aire, in bronze, and idque es, this bronze should be figurated or should be fixed or adfixed to the statuam, this is the statue of divine Julius Caesar loricatem. So he's wearing a lorica, which is a breastplate. So there's a statue of divine Julius Caesar wearing a breastplate, and this statue is possibly bronze. I know the having these deeds inscribed is going to be in bronze, but they want to have it fixated to the statue. Parum. This has a comparative, etc., but it's irregular. Means leastly or it's not enough. It's a bad sort of adverb. Visum. So this is leastly sane. Tentorum de decorum. This looks like a double genitive. The curiam testimony. So the Senate House was a witness to this leastly fitting disgrace. So de decor is a disgrace. And delectus, so chosen was the celebrarimus locus. This is a superlative. The most celebrated or frequented place was chosen, in quo, in which those in the present can legenda, those can read. Lego comes from picking, so when you're reading, you're picking words off the page or whatever. They also used to read aloud, apparently. It wasn't under the printing press where people started reading quietly. Anyway, and legenda futurus, so those who in the present day can read it, and those in the future will be able to read it pro dentro. So it's handed over, or sometimes you use this word to betray, but looks like this place was chosen. It was a very crowded place, and this was picked to be displayed, this bronze thing. So placuit, it was pleasing, it was decided, ere, in bronze, for all honours, omnes honours, to be signaried, to be, it's not really sealed, it's to be signed in this bronze, fora fastidiosima mancipi. This is someone who's really up himself and arrogant and proud. It's another superlative, and it's used, mancipi is used to describe a slave or something, someone you own. Quos, which these things he repudiated, so he refused these, well, we know he refused the money, and quos, and those as much as was pertinent to those who had discernentes, that's the present participle, these who had decreed this to guess it to be done. So, up here, it's still in section 14. I'll just bring up the Daily Dictionary word. Okay, so we'll have parum, which we dealt with here. As I said, it goes parum minus minime, so it's irregular. The superlative means not at all. That's what minime means. So if someone says, do you want this? And you say minime, mean no, not at all. In minus, it means less of, and parum means too, very little, or leastly, not good enough. It's not good enough, or it's insufficient. So that's probably what Pliny was on about here when this started. It was insufficient, or not good at all, that the curious should be a witness of such a dishonour. Anyway, so incisor, which means it was cut in and insculpted and engraved. Publicus aeternus monument. So in a public monument for eternity, you might want to say in English, was this praetorian ornamenta. So he had refused the money, but he had accepted the ornamenta, the decorations of a praetorship. This is for Pallas. Palantus would be in his genitive. Thus, as if it had been an antique foedera, a treaty made in the ancient days, and thus quasi, also as if it was according to some, these were sacred laws. So Pliny doesn't really like this slave of the emperor who's getting all these honours. 15. Tanta princeps. So such was it of the princeps, such was it of the emperor, such was it of the senate, such was it of Pallas himself. Quid dicam nesci. So I don't know what I should say in regards to this, but Valant, that they wanted into the oculis omnium, before the eyes of all, or it's in with the accusative, so before the eyes of all, to fix Pallas in solentium sum, in his insolence. So they wanted to put Pallas here with his insolence, and the patientiam, which is the suffering or the allowance of Caesar, and by the humilitatem, this is the degrading of the Senate. So he's not holding back what he thinks. Nec. So neither pudit, was it a shame, this rationem, the reasoning, neither was there a shame in the reasoning. Obtendere can mean to conceal, or to stretch, or to allege, I'd say. So it wasn't a shame in their reasoning. They didn't try to cover up any of their turpitudini, covering up of this disgrace. And indeed, quidem is indeed, or even, egregiam and pulchram ratio. So there was a special or in beautiful reasoning, and that was ut, so that by the exemplo, double genitive of the reward of Pallas, this would go ad studium. Here we go. It would provoke to the caterai. It would provoke the rest of them to have some zeal or enthusiasm of emulation. Okay, so it was 15 goes from there. Ea honorum vilitas erat. So vilitas means this is the cheapness. These are the cheapness honorum of honours, the cheap price of honours, and illorum etiam, and even of those Pallas did not degna beator. This is the passive. So Pallas didn't think these were worthy. Nevertheless, in venia banter, these things can be found. It's plural. From those nati, born from an ablative, as you always see, Person born from an honest loco, from some noble birth or rich family, can be found those who pederent they seek, and cuperent and desire, quod dare, what was given to a liberto, given to a free man, and vident they saw, promitti, promised to service, which are slaves. 17. Quam juvat. So it's not helped here. It's how pleasing it would be. Quod in tempora ille, that in that time, non incidit, that I had not fell in that time. So he wouldn't have wanted to live in those times when the statue was put up. Quorum, of which, sic thus, for me, tam quam, so it would be pudet, he would be ashamed, if he he's ashamed just as if he had lived vixerum in that time. So that's what this little section with the exclamation mark is. How he's very pleased that he didn't fall in that time, of which it shames him just as if he had lived them. Non jupiter, so I don't doubt similarly, that you are affici, if you have been affected, or that you are moved in a similar way. Scio, I know how sit tibi vivis and ingenus your animus. So I know how it is to you, your living mind or lively mind, and your ingenus, and your natural mood, or how your mind works, something like that. Really done. Idio, for this reason, facilius est, it is more easy, ut me, so that it's more easier for me, okay? Quam, although indignation in a locus quibus. So in certain places, my indignation for tasse perhaps is ultra beyond the modum, the limits of this of an epistle, of a letter extorm, that I bear or carry, although I bear or carry my indignation in certain places beyond what should be in a letter. Parum doluisse quam nimis credes. You want to believe that leastly I've doluisse, I've grieved or complained, less than nimis, than more. So I don't want you to think I've too grieved at it. Vale means goodbye. And so we started up here with somewhere, didn't we have parum up here? I made it the daily dictionary word. So yeah, leastly or not enough. He wants him to think that he hasn't grieved, contrarily to nimis here, which I think the Loeb calls exaggerated his feelings, and that's it.